Most people wake up when they die in their dreams. Those of you who managed to stay asleep, what happened in the rest of your dream after you died? I once got decapitated in a dream and had my head thrown in a canyon. My thoughts were along the lines of, wait, how am I supposed to get back to my body now? I was stuck in that dream for another few minutes and spent the whole time confused and a little aggravated. I had a falling dream and I let myself hit the ground. Nothing happens, obviously. I just looked around for a few seconds once I was on the ground. I thought, hey, wasn't I supposed to die or something? And that moment of interpreting the rules of dreams while in a dream got my brain going and I woke up for real. I wanted to keep going. Something similar happened to me, only there was a loud boing noise and my limbs and head flew in all different directions. I always thought it was that your brain has no idea what dying feels like, so it just wakes you up because it doesn't know what else to do. I fell asleep cramming for a neurology exam. In my dream I decided to blow my brains out because dream reasoning. Time slowed down as I pulled the trigger and I could tell where the bullet was in my brain based on which parts were shutting down. The last thing to go was my tactile senses. I was weirdly lucid the whole time and I awoke after an eternity of nothing. The whole thing was oddly peaceful. I haven't fallen asleep while studying since. I sometimes have nightmares when I die and I wake up from the nightmare without knowing that I'm still dreaming. This will usually happen about 4-5 times until I'm actually awake. This happens to me too, oft together with sleep paralysis, because I become aware at the fact that my room seems slightly off and I panic, only to wake at a new level, still in my room. I have reoccurring dreams where I die and become a ghost and have to try to find some way to communicate with people. Usually it ends up just being me following my friends around, unable to get their attention. A lot of times everything is muffled and pale. Kind of depressing. The other night, however, I had a dream that I died and then just kind of reformed next to my dead body, and the rest of the dream was me frantically trying to dispose of this body because I knew I wouldn't be able to explain that it was my own body, since, you know, I was alive. Eventually I chopped it up and put it in garbage bags and dumped them in a pond, but then someone riding by on a bike stopped to yell at me for littering. They looked in a bag and saw the body and freaked out. I pulled a pamphlet out of my pocket and handed it to them, and it was the details of my own funeral, and I was like, yeah, turns out I'm dead. Hope to see you there. And they were like, yeah, I'm calling the police. And I got so overwhelmingly scared that I woke up having an actual full-blown panic attack. That was pretty wild. OMG, I am dying here. The part where you're frantically trying to dispose of this body because I knew I wouldn't be able to explain that it was my own body had me belly laughing so hard. Everything was dark, but I could still hear the voices of everyone around me. I couldn't move or anything. I could only listen for the remainder of the dream. That's exactly what happened to me. Dreamt of being a soldier in a war, got shot in the head, everything went dark, and for the next, what felt like 5 hours, I just heard plane sounds and gunshots and random voices shouting medic and crap. Freaking lazy brain. When I die in my dreams, I just respawn near wherever I died, or I become a sort of disembodied spirit then possess the nearest person. I had one dream where, long story short, I was in a giant space station that was going to blow up and I didn't have time to evacuate with the rest. I then realized I was dreaming and simply reversed time so that I could help evacuate people but give myself enough time to get out, unlike before. Whenever I realize I'm dreaming, I just automatically wake up. Dream. I was walking on the edge of a building when I lost my balance and fell. When I made contact with the asphalt, it felt like I was shoved really hard. I got up as a crowd of people are running towards me. I try to tell them that I'm okay, only to have them run past me. I turn and see my twisted body on the ground. Women are crying and turning their heads away. One man pulls out his phone to, I assume, call 911. That's when I woke up. I've only had that dream once in my life and I will never forget it. I had a dream where I died and became another person, but it wasn't like starting a new life. I was just thrown into some random kid's life at like age 5 or 6. I was killed by the chick from The Ring and then everything went bright and warm, like laying in the sun with your eyes closed. It was very peaceful and comforting. Then I had the thought that I had to go back, so I kinda respawned. She killed me again and I was back in the warm place. The cycle happened 2 other times until I woke up. But if the afterlife is really like it was in my dream, 10/10 would visit again. So I was with my GF walking through an alley. At some point I see a guy trying to rob another girl, so I try to do something about it. We argue and fight and then I get shot in the head. I see red and as my eyes close slowly I can only think, dang, what a dumb way to die. I keep hearing stuff and then nothing. I can only see black and so I think what when I slowly open my eyes again I'm in my bed. A bit confused but glad I didn't die stupidly in an alley. I'd been murdered and my spirit remained on earth, amongst the living. I followed my murderer, hovering above his head, never seeing his face but following his every step. I witnessed him stalking, killing his next victim. It was not a good dream. Okay, here's the full dream. I had it when I was in middle school but it freaked me out so much I never forgot it. I was playing in a field with a steep hill near our house, a place where there isn't actually a field, and I was playing near the street but my family was hanging out at the top of the hill. Suddenly, I see 2 military looking guys leave a house nearby and get into a Jeep. They drive right up to me as my family is yelling, "Hey, get up the hill. Get away from the street," but I just stand there. The guys pull up in front of me and one points a handgun at my face. At this point, my dad has run down the hill and grabs me, like, literally picks me up. They have a little standoff where my dad moves me left, and the guy turns his gun left toward me, and then my dad moves me right, and the guy points the gun right. Like when you're trying to walk past somebody and you get stuck and it's awkward. Finally the guy just shoots me in the head and they drive off. And my dad just goes dang and slings me over his should. For the rest of the dream I'm watching my dad walk around with me slumped over his shoulder. He carries me back up the hill, and my whole family just seems annoyed about the situation. My mom says something about paying for a funeral, and so all 4 of them, parents and siblings, pull on balaclavas and run into a bank right behind them where there isn't actually a bank. And the dream ends with my dad running in to rob a bank with my body over his shoulder. That dream haunted me for a while. It was just so weird to see this going on and everybody was so cold about it. I wrote it down to remember because I wanted to make sense of it, but I DK that it really makes any sense at all. I was a soldier in World War I. American. We were in a barn in the countryside somewhere, about 10 of us. I can still remember the smell of the man that shot me, close range, in the head. I'm summarizing a lot because it's a long story. I've never forgotten his pick-marked face. Everything went black and I crumpled upon myself and I could feel the warm blood covering me. I couldn't move or speak but I could still hear and smell. My comrades were yelling and screaming until the automatic gunfire broke out and everything slowly went quiet, then all senses faded to nothing. I always thought reincarnation was absurd until that point. Woke up in a pool of sweat and jumped out of bed. Haven't been the same since. I truly believe it was a memory, not a dream. Oh my god, I don't think I've ever been able to smell in a dream. I can imagine that it did change you in some way to experience what you did. It was so scary. I literally woke up crying. In my dream I actually saw my own funeral, watching my family mourning me as I was trying to comfort my crying mother, only she obviously couldn't see me since I was in spirit form. I actually remember the details of everything. I remember them bringing my open casket into the funeral room I was put in, and I remember the feeling I was having in the dream as I was hesitating whether or not I wanted to look at myself. I ended up looking at myself and I was so scared. I drowned in a dream for the first time quite recently, after I had been struggling in the water and was overcome by the waves. As my lungs filled with water, I felt myself stop moving or breathing and my brain sort of fell asleep. Then for what felt like an age, I just heard the crashing of the waves around me. After that, my view of the scene was no longer first person but a sort of aerial view where I saw my corpse wash up on the shore before I woke up feeling traumatized. I clicked respawn and turned to creative mode and killed Freddy Krueger. 10-year-old me liked horror movies and Minecraft. Hello fellow Zoomer. I think I died in my dream one time and stayed asleep. It went something like this, but not exactly because I don't really remember. Is she dead? I think so. What happened? She fell off a roof. Oh. Everything was black. All I heard was the voices. The voices sounded completely calm and not sad at all. I have only died once in a dream, and honestly it was the best dream I have ever had. I often used to dream that I am drowning, and I always fight it in a panic and eventually wake myself up. This time I decided to heck with it. I hate the panic and fear and just decided to embrace it. I took a huge breath in the water and the pain was overwhelming but didn't last long. Soon I was just watching my dead body floating in the water. What I was left with was the most peaceful and rested feeling I have ever had. It lasted the entire day after I woke up. This was years ago and I want so badly to have that dream again, but I have never once had a dream that I was drowning since. Even though I used to have them at least weekly, I haven't found a single thing in life that brought anything near that sense of calm. I find it kind of funny. I find it kind of sad. I've had a few dreams where I died, and each time it was like nothing happened, just that I had an inherent sense that I knew I was dead and my body was semi-transparent, but otherwise I could talk and interact and everything is normal, lol. I appeared in a pitch black empty space and the words "game over, play again" illuminated in front of me. I tried to mind press both play again buttons but neither worked. You just needed to insert a quarter. I once died after being shot with a freezing gun. It was horrible. I felt the cold instilling and I slowly died. After that it was all dark. I remember thinking this is incredibly disappointing as there wasn't anything else after. I went to heaven and threw scissors. I had this dream when I was in kindergarten, so I sadly don't remember much of what heaven was like. I do remember that they separate you by age. I had a dream that I was an astronaut and a few other astronauts and I were entering orbit. We weren't able to slow down at all because of a spacecraft malfunction, so we quickly realized that we were going to die. The instant the altitude read 0 km, my perspective immediately shifted from first person to third person, and I watched us all get obliterated from the impact. Our deaths repeated a few times like a broken record, then everything soon faded to black. In my dream I died in the North Pole after a meteor hit the earth and destroyed the atmosphere. Then time sped up and I saw the earth change in third person. I woke up hundreds of years later in the ocean and swam to land, only to find that like a colony of cockroaches, humanity had somehow survived. They couldn't set foot in the sunlight, but they lived, the bastards. I had a dream where I was shot in the head. I had a conception of my conscious self as a sphere that began contracting and dropping with increasing speed. While this was going on, a tape containing every thought and experience began rewinding with the speed increasing at the same rate as my conscious self was dropping. My consciousness reached a low point after which it started rising and expanding. As this reached its apex, I had a sense that all the secrets of the universe were about to be revealed to me. Still in my dream, I opened my eyes and was disappointed to find I was still alive. I had that dream 40 years ago and still recall it quite clearly. It just kinda morphs into a new dream, like entirely unrelated. I fell off a cliff and now I'm on a planet made out of roller coasters and my dream self just accepts it. Sometimes it resets though and I have to try the thing that killed me again. Those ones suck cause it just keeps repeating and I wake up very stressed. It's only happened once. I got hit by a car and my leg broke off. Coincidentally the same place as my birthmark. So the body fell and I remained standing. An ambulance arrived and they put my body in the back and drove off. I then proceeded to follow my body to the hospital. My parents entered at the same time, but instead of following my body like I thought they would, they went to the pregnancy ward. Forgot the name. I followed them out of curiosity. When I followed I noticed my mother started to glow, and the light would pull me along and get brighter the closer she got actually giving birth. Just before she gave birth everything flashed a bright white and I woke up. Holy crap. In my dream I died by a bomb explosion. Everything turned really bright, like pure white, blinding me. Then I was dead. But it was kind of chill. I could still do almost everything normally, except I had to communicate with people through writing. I think they could see me. I distinctly remember I knew I was dead, so it wasn't a new dream or anything. Was fascinating since I'd expect to have woken up by such an intense dream death. I died in a dream the same way, but in mine, after all the bright light was gone, I was in heck, and the rest of the dream was of navigating heck. So this planet crashed into Earth and obliterated everyone on Earth. It was just pitch black for like 20 seconds and I realized I had died. My body started to put itself back together like what Dr. Manhattan did in Watchmen, and I believe a new dream started because I was suddenly on this other planet. I knew I was dreaming when I saw the planet crash into Earth and I was trying to wake up but I just couldn't. I think it was because I wanted to see what would happen or I just couldn't. I just kept sleeping. Everything felt like usual when you sleep with no dreams. Then later I wake up to go pee and remember oh, I died in my dream. Flush, wash, then head back to bed. The 2 times I've died in dreams and not woken up, it was kind of like an out-of-body experience. Once from beheading, once from getting shot in the back of the head, can't remember. I could see the rest of the scenes play out. Once from above, once from our level. The following days were very heavy dissociation days. Suspended over my deathbed, watched my parents pull the plug. Then a priest grabbed my hand and led me to a chapel. He told me to climb into a casket and he shut the door. It felt like I'd move away, far from my family and friends. I remember sitting in an upper bedroom of a farmhouse filled with confused strangers. I was a little sad, but peaceful. I mostly just sat and watched the trees out the window. I woke up feeling bittersweet about it all. I stay in the same position I died in the dream. That is, if I fall off a building in the rain, I stay laying on the ground, feel the pain for a while until my body only feels cold. Or, if stabbed and dream, I'll feel the pain, and then slowly feel more and more empty. Always ends with me watching my dream continue without me until it's time my body lets me wake up. My pals always tell me I have hissy dreams because I control and feel everything and will wake up remembering everything down to how the weather in my dream felt. I sort of died in a dream once. I knew I was dying and my heart started racing. I thought, that's weird. I always thought I wouldn't feel afraid, not because I'm spiritual or anything, but because the actual mechanics of the body shutting down should theoretically make feeling fear impossible past a certain point in the dying process. Well, as soon as I had the thought, my heart slowed and I felt very calm and I was like, oh, okay, there we go. My heart rate got slower and slower until it stopped for what felt like a long time and the best, deepest sleep ever. But then I thought, dang. I can't die yet. I've got stuff to do. And my heart started again and I woke up wondering WTH had just happened. It was absolutely the weirdest dream I've ever had. I got to watch my body from a third-person point of view for a bit as creatures appeared and started to eat my corpse. I didn't like that, so my dream reset so I could try whatever I was doing again. Ended up dying another way and watched more monsters showed up. The weirdest part was that it didn't feel like a nightmare or anything, more like that frustration you get from failing at a game a few times. Well, I had this odd dream where I ran towards a nuclear blast. Death was oddly slow in the dream, but once I was gone there was darkness. Then I started hearing a random conversation between 2 people I didn't recognize. My mind usually switches to another dream after the scene turns black. However, once I turned into a ghost and crawled out of my body in time to see the murderer walk into the room. I turned into a ghost. Next dream sequence was similar, but I was ready for it and avoiding dying. It was very vivid, I still remember it clearly. Most recently, had a dream where dying initiated a reboot of what happened before. Since it was a dream, it was more of a remix than a reboot. I still remember that dream from my childhood. I got killed by a velociraptor, but instead of waking up I woke up within my dream and I was aware it was a dream. And I spent what felt like a long time just walking around my neighborhood with some friends waiting for my dream to end so I could wake up because it was boring just walking around in my dream. Usually, there is a ghost. I can see my body and people reacting to it, but I can't actually interact. One notable time I started the dream by dying and spent the rest of it trying to get people to notice me before finally getting through to a friend. Otherwise, I just see darkness with a golden 4-pointed light shining in it, similar to BOTW's opening. I normally die in my dreams, but 3 things always happen. 1. I am reborn and have another chance to stop it. 2. I become someone different. Example, I die and then take the perspective of someone else in the world, usually the same person every time. 3. I stay dead and simply continue my dream as an observer. These usually mean that I will probably wake up soon. I watched my own funeral in sorts once if you could did that. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.